This show is sponsored by PowerfulWomenUSA.com, a place to be inspired by other women. Hey, everybody. I'm Jill Conway, and this is Secrets of Powerful Women, a show dedicated to celebrating and supporting strong and successful women and sharing their stories. I am hoping that you will be inspired to pursue your own dreams, reclaim your voice, and discover your strengths. So my guest today is Terry Tateossian. She is a serial entrepreneur, wellness expert, and founder of House of Rose and THOR Retreats. So Terry, thank you for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jill. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. I laughed when I said her name because I practiced beforehand. That's why I said it, because I didn't want to mispronounce it. So
you got it perfectly.
Thank you. Okay. So, all right. So let's talk about what you do for a living, because you have a great story.
Yeah, so I support women for a living now. In the last 5 years, actually, I completely changed careers, went 360 in midlife, when I realized that what I was doing before wasn't really a passion, or it wasn't a calling. It wasn't my purpose. And so now what I do is I run women's retreats in the Smoky Mountains. We have 2 more locations around the world, in Sedona and south of France this year. And I coach women to come back to themselves. And that could be through nutrition, movement, strength training, and connection.
Oh, I love this. So what did you do before this?
So before that, I was a serial entrepreneur. I actually started in my mid-20s. 25 was the first company. I was 25 when I started my first company. And it's funny because the original platform that I built was kind of like Friendster or MySpace, if you remember those back in the day.
Sure. Yeah.
Which then eventually, it morphed into Facebook, Instagram, etc. And so my pedigree is actually in software engineering and computer programming. And that's what I spent the majority of my life. Eventually, that skill turned into a digital agency. So I started taking on clients and building platforms for clients, mobile apps, websites, platforms, digital marketing, etc.
Wow. All right. So then talk to me about what happened in your life that caused you to really do this soul searching. Because I always say, I mean, for some people, it happens their whole life, but I feel like, especially because I'm very open, I'm 54, and the same thing, it felt like this calling in my soul to just do more. You have to, this isn't working anymore, what you're doing. So what happened with you?
Great question. What happened to me? I happened.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
Yes. So, wow. I mean, that's a really good question, because I'm an immigrant. So I came to the United States at the age of 13. And
from where? Where'd you come from?
Eastern Europe, communism. And so I grew up with this kind of like a brainwashing campaign that really the most important thing in life was my education and my career. And so I was very driven. I'm still very driven. You can't take that out of me. But I burned myself out. So I worked so hard on all of my businesses and entrepreneur ventures and partnerships and all those things that eventually, by the age of 37, I had 2 children by then. My daughter I had at 30, my son at 35. By 37, I was still working 18, 19-hour days, raising a family, building a company, traveling nonstop for clients. I was working with some Fortune 50 companies. Some of them start with the letter A. I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about. Probably use it every day. Right. And so it's a very demanding type of career. So I found myself at 37 at 210 pounds. I'm 5'3". And I started experiencing some very erratic, just crazy symptoms that I didn't know what to attribute them to.
Like what? Can I ask you? Can I just cut you off? Like what?
Yeah. So extreme anxiety, panic attacks that sent me to the ER twice, obesity, I was pre-diabetic. I was binging not only on food but alcohol, and it became more and more and more volume wise, and it became daily. Probably depression. I don't think I was ever diagnosed with it because it was masked by a lot of activity, right? A lot of work. And all kinds of stuff, right? So all kinds of weird things started happening. Like I would break out into these crazy sweats, right? Out of nowhere. I would think I was having a flu, but it wasn't. I could not lose weight for the life of me. I started becoming more antisocial. I didn't want to interact anymore. I didn't want to go and have a social life.
Oh, you feel like garbage, right? You didn't want to socialize. Yeah. Yeah.
And probably a ton of things I don't even remember anymore because it was just a storm of symptoms. And I ended up in ER, and eventually they gave me a Xanax and they said, hey, go home, you're having a panic attack. And the second time it happened, I was lucky enough to have a nurse tell me like, maybe you need to think about losing some weight because 210 is a bit much. I think I did a body scan once and it was 48% body fat. Okay. And so I started that journey, but lucky for me, I started that fitness journey right in the throes of perimenopause.
Oh boy. Yep.
But I didn't know it. And people always ask me, like, how did you know you were in perimenopause? I didn't. Yeah. Okay. I had no clue. The day I found
same story. Yep. With me.
Crazy.
Yep. No idea. Yeah. No idea.
And I realized I was menopausal when my period just stopped showing up, and I thought I was pregnant. So that's how I found that I was in menopause.
Right. Could this be? You're like, what? Yeah. And you feel like, it's so funny, you feel like you're going crazy.
Yes.
100%. All right, so go ahead. So what happened? You weren't pregnant.
No, I was in menopause at 42. Yeah. I'm going to be 50 this year. Wow. So it's been, 8 years full menopause. Wow. But luckily for me, I ended up in ER, and somebody told me like, drop some weight. And so that's when everything changed. So I went on this quest, a literal journey of all the diets out there on Amazon. Yeah. There's 30,000 diet books on Amazon, by the way, in case anybody's wondering.
But your story is like so many women. I feel like we all do this, and there's no answers,
Yes, because dieting doesn't work. Right. And so my perception of how to lose weight was decrease food and increase cardio.
Yep.
And so I did that for a while. I did all the diets: keto, Atkins, South Beach, fruitarian, carnivore, we eat a celery stick a day, all kinds of crazy stuff. Right. I did it, and it worked for a certain amount of time. I white knuckled it. I did 2 hours of cardio every day. I dropped the weight. And then as soon as I, would lose 30, 40 pounds, I was like, oh, thank God, I'm done. And then I'd go right back to my usual style, right? And so the weight would come back with a vengeance. And so I did this repeatedly over and over and over again for a few years until I sat myself down finally one day and I said, I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, Terry, you're kind of, you pride yourself on being a fairly intelligent person, but what we're doing here, this thing we're doing, it's not working. So it's time to face up to the fact that your dieting approach is not working. And I finally, I reached out to a coach and I asked for help, which is, God forbid you do that, right? Ask for help and say, I don't know what I'm doing. But I did that. I was that humbled by the entire process that the media out there was not providing any solutions. The general narrative out there on women's health was not providing any solutions, and we're talking 13 years ago, right? So they didn't have that many discussions, especially women coming forward on social media and talking about HRT or perimenopause symptoms or protein or lifting weights. Like this was kind of a niche thing, it was for bodybuilders, and so I got lucky. I got really, really lucky, and I hired a coach that was a bodybuilding specialist with focus on women's health and women's weight loss. And I ended up losing 80 pounds, keeping it off. And that changed everything for me. I mean, talk about getting red pilled or blue pilled or whatever it is. I got pilled. Okay. Yeah. And I realized it's all a lie. My gosh, it's all a lie. There's no
What's a lie? Yeah, go ahead.
There's no diet. There's no particular diet. So if somebody's selling you a diet that is restrictive in some way, or telling you specific foods you need to eat, is full of it, because that's not how it works, and it didn't work for me. You know, a balanced nutrition plan that fuels you for your particular goals, that is very custom and personalized to your activity level, to your goal, to your body, to the phase of life that you're in, is what works. But that's a very difficult thing to sell in a book or a program, right? So they kind of give us the dumbed down version.
Well, because I feel like, you know, listen, we all want to lose weight as women, right? We all, especially once you hit perimenopause, menopause, and you're like, same thing, you're doing everything and then some, and you're like, I don't understand what is happening here. Your body like kind of turns against you. And then you try these diets that should work, right? Because everybody on social media is doing it. And then you're like, it doesn't. So it's, you know, I've been doing like really, really, really clean eating. I mean, like someone else had told me, like, you know, the outskirts of the grocery store, you know, I don't go in the aisles, right? I don't do prepackaged anything. And it's like life-changing. It's like life-changing, you know, because for like you, I was working out. It was just like to the point where you're exhausted and then you're like not eating anything. Right. And then, so you lost 80 pounds. God bless. I mean, that's fantastic. How long did that take you? How long did that take you?
It really didn't take that long. I would say in total, probably about 8 to 9 months.
Okay.
But when you enter this realm of bodybuilding, you actually learn not just about deficit, which is what a diet technically is, but also about body composition. So when you are doing resistance training, your body is creating lean muscle tissue, and that weighs something, right? And at the same time, if you're in a deficit, a small deficit, meaning you're taking in less calories than what you're expending, your body is dropping body fat. So the goal is really to keep as much lean muscle tissue as possible while reducing body fat. And so there's an, you know, in and out kind of process that happens. And after that, which is what most diet books don't tell you, I went through a reverse diet, meaning that I incrementally and slowly over a period of time, so another probably 6 to 8 months, I reversed the deficit, meaning I started to increase my calories very intentionally, but very slowly. You know, each couple of weeks, I would add another 100 calories to my day. And so that entire process, without gaining weight, so that entire process took about a year.
Wow.
But I'll tell you, the hardest part of it was maintaining it. The weight loss was actually very easy once you have the strategy and the right plan.
Yeah. Well, you incorporated, as you said, so slowly, 100 calories more. Why? So your metabolism could get used to it?
Exactly. Yeah. So the body is designed to be adaptive, right? So the metabolism adapts to your activity level, to your fuel intake. And so when you have been in restriction or in a caloric deficit, your body will adapt down to that, right? And so going right back, which is the mistake in most diet books, going right back, let's say, to eating the way you normally ate after the diet is quote unquote completed, is where a lot of the fat gain comes back. So when you go into a reverse diet after your diet is complete, the diet phase is complete, you add very slowly. So you give your body, your metabolism, a chance to adapt to those calories without turning them into fat storage.
Wow. Oh, wow. So now you work specifically with women, and in what way?
Yes, I only work with women. And what ended up happening actually is this was such a cataclysmic time in my life And it really turned every belief I had, every ideal I had about everything upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that there's a lot of narratives out there that are kind of designed to keep us stuck in a sense. And it changed everything for me. It changed my entire perspective on every life, you know? So I ended up through this journey being asked by neighbors, friends, people that I knew, like, you know, can you help me do the same thing? And so, you know, I would help people for free. I didn't have any certifications at the time. And, you know, it was working. It was working for most women. And if they followed through on the habits, right, and the behaviors. And so I ended up getting certified. I ended up becoming a trainer, a nutritionist, hormone specialist. I specialize in emotional eating because that's a huge part of it, is understanding our inner world, nervous system regulation, things like that. And so I work only with women to go through the entire journey with them in terms of regulating all of these aspects of their lifestyle. And then eventually I decided, let me go all the way, right? So lifestyle medicine coach from Harvard Medical School. I got that done recently. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Congratulations. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to talk about belief in what you said, because, you know, and I think this is so important because I feel like there's always, you know, there's always sort of a pattern, I feel like, with all the guests I have on the show. And this is, they reached a point in their life where they said, something's got to change, right? So you went through this whole process, and then while you were doing this, were you still, it sounds like you burnt out, like you said, in the other job, I mean, which is so common for women. Were you doing both at the same time, or you completely at some point left the other, AI jobs?
I had a full breakdown. I just stopped.
Yeah.
I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was too much. It was just too many things that needed to be handled. And my entire nervous system was upside down.
Yeah.
Right. And so, especially going through perimenopause.
Yeah.
At the same time. And so this is something I tell women all the time, is when you get into that phase and you're so overwhelmed to begin with. So you're overwhelmed before you even get into perimenopause. Right?
Yeah.
That's our general lifestyle, right? We're always overwhelmed. We're in flight and flight all the time. And then Perry shows up.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shoot, right?
Yeah.
What the heck is happening?
Right.
Something's got to give, right?
Yeah.
So you have to really sit down. I had to sit down, do a full audit of my life. Where was my time going? Where was my attention going? Where was my energy going? Was it fulfilling?
Yeah.
Right? Was there a purpose to it? Or was I just spinning my wheels? And was I ever going to feel better? And I started setting boundaries. I started removing things out of my life that I could. And then eventually I realized, like, this is not working. You know, this is not fulfilling. I don't find any joy in this. It's not rewarding. And I stopped.
Yeah. But I think that so many women many women, I shouldn't say so many, don't want to give themselves that audit because they're afraid of
It's scary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Because I think you have to, I think women have to confront, right, what they find joy in, what's working, what's not working, and also their belief systems. Because, you know, we say peel the onion, right? But I only did that, gosh, a couple of years ago. You know, I think when I was like, I turned 50 at that time, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I'm not even enjoying it. So, and it's taking so much of my time. And I found, like, it was like, oh, but the women who hear this, I don't want to say to you, just quit your job, right? And then you have no job. But, and maybe you can speak to that. Don't just, I don't know. I mean, if you can, that's great and still do something else. But I think the hardest part, the toughest part for people and women, especially who want to be everything to everyone, to do is to really self-evaluate. I mean, that's a tough process for you. There's tears, there's a lot of things going on.
It's the scariest thing to do, right? As a human being, is to really face yourself in the mirror and, in a sense, go through and clean house. But also open the closets, right? Open those cabinets that you shoved all those feelings into, that you kind of hide things you don't want to look at, right? I mean, think about what we do. I do that at home. Like, oh, this is such a mess. Let me just shove it into this cabinet. The junk drawer, right? Go through the junk drawer in your mind to really clean it out a bit every now and then. And it's an ongoing practice. I can't really say it's a one-time thing, but if you've never done it in your life, it feels really overwhelming. So my advice is just, go room by room, start somewhere manageable where you feel like your energy's drained the most, right? So find the leakage of where things are just exhausting you and start building methods and tools and ways to kind of, isolate yourself from that.
I think that's so true. And I feel like I had to go back to even the simplest questions. I'm always the person that asks why. Obviously, having this podcast, I ask a lot of questions. I was in news for 20 years. I asked a lot of questions. But when you peel it back to why, like, why do I do what I'm doing, right? Where did that belief come from? And can you go all the way back? Well, I saw my parents doing it. I saw, things like that, where you're like, where did that idea come from? And is it true?
Is it true? Yes.
Yeah. And often it's not true, or it's not the person you want to be, or it's not, you're like, I don't, my mom did it, or my dad did it, always did it that way, which is such a big line for people. Well, it's always been done that way. So I'm going to keep doing it that way instead of saying, wait a minute, but this way doesn't work for me.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I recently realized that all my career choices in the past, except for this one, was a trauma response.
Wow. I believe it. Meaning how? Meaning what?
Well, I mean, when I really analyzed it, immigrant and immigrants usually develop a scarcity mindset, survival mindset. If you're an immigrant, you have basically uprooted your entire life, everything everything that's familiar, your security as in relationships, your financial security, everything. And you come to a different, foreign, unknown country, and you start from zero. You start from ground zero. So what is the most essential resource? It's financial, right? It's economic, because face it, we're living in a material world. And so you have to get that in order, right? So if you're an immigrant, that is generally your priority. And so all of my career choices were based on financial reward, right? So can I be a software engineer? Yes. Do I love it? Is it rewarding? Sometimes, sometimes when I tinker with my website right now, it's very rewarding.
Sure.
But can I do that 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day, every single day for the rest of my life?
Yeah. Do you want to, right? Is that how you want to spend your day? I mean, this is like, for some people, they're going to start dismissing it. Like, I can't do that. I have obligations. I can't just quit my job. I hate it. So what do you say to them?
I get it. I completely understand. But what is your exit strategy?
Right. Start forming it.
Exactly. And the thing is, I was used to working 18 hours a day.
Sure.
And so for me to cut it down to 9 left me another 9 hours, okay, to develop my exit strategy and to figure out, what else can I do to replace my income when I'm ready to leave. So it's not necessarily, you don't have to go cold turkey, but there are so many ways nowadays to earn a living with so many tools that we have. Like there's people becoming billionaires just off of AI agents now, right? Just yesterday, I'm not even joking. I went into ChatGPT and I told ChatGPT, I want you to develop a standalone Shopify page that does these calculations for me, design the user interface. This is the algorithm I want you to use. These are the measurements. These are the inputs. Give me the page so I can copy and paste it into my Shopify page. Guess what?
Isn't that amazing?
5 minutes and I was done. And because I'm actually working on a macro calculator that visitors can use for free. And so, I got it done in 5 minutes. Back in the day, that would have taken me a week.
Right. Isn't it remarkable? So many people are afraid of AI, and it's not, I don't think it's going to take over all these jobs, but I think if you don't start using it, you're in jeopardy of losing your job, So, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great story. All right. So listen, let's pause here. So much more to talk about. We'll be back with Terry Tateossian after the commercial break. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. Help me get the word out. Share this with your friends because this is so good. Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Conway. If you love what you're listening to, please like and subscribe to my channel on whatever podcast platform you listen to and on YouTube so I can keep bringing you these amazing women and sharing their stories. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you love it as much as I do. All right, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. Terry Tateossian is with me. Terry, I want to talk quick about something you had just mentioned because I think it's hard. Listen, it's hard in general to pivot how you did and come out of an intense 18-hour-a-day industry and into, something that you wanted to do, right? So, what do you think? I mean, when you talk very basically to people and you say, how do you find your passion? People want to know how they find their passions. What does that look like?
That's a really good question. Honest answer is I have no idea. I didn't find it. It found me technically.
Okay.
And it hit me over the head multiple times, over and over and over again, until I finally paid attention to it. And so my answer really to this question is there are signs. There are signs your entire life, those synchronicities, those, alignments that happen once in a while. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. Learning how to pay attention to that is, I think, critical. But we're so disconnected that we don't listen to our intuition. We have been led to believe that our intuition is just woo-woo, mumbo-jumbo stuff, that our instincts for certain things or our internal attraction or drive towards something is, you can make money with that. You can survive yoga.
True.
I mean,
right.
That is what was going on in my mind, right? Yoga? You're gonna raise a family being a yoga teacher? Are you kidding me? Wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Personal trainer? You're going to be a personal trainer. Only meatheads are personal trainers. Well, guess what? I'm a meathead. and that was the narrative, right? So anytime I would find something that I was really into, my mind would always say, oh, you can't raise a family on that. You can't survive financially on that. That's not possible. That's for people that are single and in their 20s, you know? And so I would avoid the things that I had a passion towards or maybe even a talent for, right? So imagine this. At 42, I discovered that I am stronger than probably 95% of women my size and age. And when I started walking towards that path, I believe that there's a certain limit to how strong I could get. So I always had like the ceiling, right? Oh, you're not going to go past 200 pounds on your deadlift. Well, I blew that out of the water at 48 last year. And so it kept getting better and better and stronger and stronger. And despite getting older, I was getting stronger. And I would go to the gym and blow my own mind because I was like, last week, I was like, there's no way you could do any more than that, right? That's your max. And then the next week I would go and I would do more than that. So I started getting scared at one point. I was like, when is this going to stop? Like, how much more can I do? There's no limit, right? And same thing, like I mean, this is scary. Okay. This story is scary. I was in France last year and I went to the gym in France. And, I would wait for a machine. Let's say somebody who's male was using the machine. I would get on the machine, pulling the same weight that he was, and it was half of what I did. I mean, talk about blowing your own limitations, right? And so I noticed this and I was like, wow, really my biggest regret is that I didn't pursue that earlier because I don't know where that would have gone for me, right? Maybe I would have been a professional powerlifter if I had pursued that, but it was never really an option in my own mind.
So talk about then that belief system then, and I want to talk about that. I also want to ask you about the resistance you probably maybe felt from people around you who heighten those doubting comments like, what are you thinking, you're crazy, right? Which I feel like every woman gets when she wants to make a change sometime is, what are you thinking? So but go back to your own beliefs, and then that limiting belief that we have in us.
Yeah, it was ridicule, right? So my passion and my interest in movement in general, yoga, powerlifting, Pilates, it was met with ridicule, right? As I was growing up, because the number one brainwashed idea was that you have to do everything you can to earn a living, right? So the education that you receive, the type A personality I developed, all these things were all a response to our trauma of having to provide financially. And I did that for many people for many years because I was so driven at my own expense, doing things that I wasn't fully aligned with, that I could white knuckle that. I could discipline myself into doing that, but it wasn't really my calling or my soul, didn't feed my soul in a sense, right? And so changing that earlier on, like in my 20s and my 30s, was met with ridicule, like, or panic or fear. Like, how are you going to take care of me when I'm 90 years old if you're going to be a yoga teacher? From my mother,
Yeah.
And so, I avoided it, right? So I put all of that on hold. I stuffed it into the junk drawer. And in my 40s, it jumped right at me.
Yeah, that drawer couldn't stay shut. It flew open. Yeah. And then, you had that, right? And people do think you're crazy. So then, but it's also the things you, right? Like you said, the things you tell yourself, like, what, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Maybe it is a stupid idea. Maybe, you play this horrible game with yourself in your own mind. And sometimes instead of thinking about all the ways it could go right, we think about all the ways it could go wrong.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I thought of all the ways that things could go wrong for so long that once I got hit with just completely discombobulating, like just complete breakdown, none of those, I didn't give a shit about that.
Right.
Right? Like I think the definition of rock bottom, right? I hit rock bottom so hard that those thoughts were gone because there was nothing worse that could happen to me at that point. So I didn't give a shit. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this thing that I know is making me feel better. Not because I have a plan, not because I have a business plan or a marketing plan or an idea on how I'm going to earn it. I don't give a shit about that right now. Right? I just need to feel better. I need to get back on my feet emotionally. Right. And so I didn't hear those voices anymore.
You have to shut them down. You have to shut, or no one will ever take a risk if they just keep letting that resurface and guide you. Talk to me about your THOR retreats, and they sound amazing. So what are they? And why do you call them THOR?
So it's an abbreviation. It's thehouseofrose.com. And the reason why I chose that name is because it signifies and symbolizes the feminine, right? So the rose is the feminine. The house is really our body. The rose is the highest vibrational flower out there. That's why it's connected to love and God and higher frequency, higher vibration. And it's feminine. But Thor, so THOR, is masculine. And it symbolizes fertility, strength, protection, all of those human qualities that we are looking for. Community, all of that, right? So it kind of aligned perfectly for me. And it's funny because I didn't come up with that. It came to me. It came up with me. And I just went with it. And the retreats are 5-day retreats in the Smoky Mountains. Those are the most popular ones for women. And we work through some of these topics that we talked about: nervous system regulation through yoga, meditation, breath work, grounding in nature, good food, nutritious food that fuels our body rather than starvation, yin restorative yoga at night, spa treatments, and really connection, really to be able to sit in a group of women and be allowed to be seen for who you are, what you're doing, what you're struggling with, and then kind of go home and bring those methodologies and those modalities in with you and continue the journey.
I love that. And you said Smoky Mountains. Where else? Whereabouts?
So this year we added 2 more locations in south of France and in Sedona, because a lot of women have been coming back to the Smoky Mountains. And so we decided as a group, we needed some like variation, just a little different scenery. And so we added those 2 retreats. Sedona is sold out. And so the majority, actually, Smoky Mountains have already sold out. I think May is the one that's open. February, March, April are filled up.
Wow. Do you do once a month?
We were doing once a month, but they started selling out. And so we added additional dates. So there will be an additional date in April, May, June, July. There might be 4 in August.
Wow. So is this blowing your mind that it's become so successful, or you knew it? You knew it would.
That's another really good question, because if you had asked me that when I was 35, I would have said the purpose of a business is to be successful, right? The reason why you start a business is so that it's financially successful, and then you have a good ROI on your investment, you have a good P&L, you got all your numbers straight. Can I just tell you, I don't care.
Right.
With this one, I don't care. And I do it because it's my love child, and it's very fulfilling. It gives me purpose. The best result is the emails and messages I get from women that have attended.
Mm.
And the biggest gift I could have is to be told I finally felt like myself again. I felt like I came back into my own body. Thank you for that. And so I'm not surprised, because I'm not the only one that's going through this kind of thing, right? I know this is not a unique story, and I'm not surprised.
So the group, the people that typically come, what are the ages of the women?
It's usually late 30s into 70s.
Yeah. Wow. And do you do other coach? I think you mentioned it. Other type of coaching, like outside of that as well.
Yeah, so a lot of times women want to continue to work together. And so I do one-on-one coaching. My maximum really is 15 women. And it's very, very personal. Most of my clients have been with me over 2 years. And so it continues that entire journey, right? So now it dives more into the nuance of the nutritional aspect, right? And every person's nutrition is very personalized, very individualized. Everybody's really different. It dives into strength training, resistance training, how to lift properly, bodybuilding, how to get the shape, the body composition that you want, right? Because why would you be going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week and not get the result that you want?
Right.
And so we work on all of that. We work on all the lifestyle medicine modalities, like substance abuse, emotional eating, sleep, relationships, connections, nutrition, strength training, cardio, yoga, Pilates.
Oh, I love it. Talk to me about emotional eating. I feel like that's a big one. So, and I realize that that's what I do as well. So, what is it? What is it for people who are listening?
So emotional eating is different from physical eating, right? Physical food. The difference is when you're physically hungry, your body's looking for nutrition. When you're emotionally hungry, your body feels like there's an urgent fire it needs to put out emotionally, internally. And you have to use, in a sense, like an addict, a substance, in this case, food, whether it's sugar, salt, crunchy things, ice cream, chocolate, whatever, right? To soothe yourself, right? So that you can cope with that internal state. Sometimes it's anxiety, loneliness, happiness. Maybe you're way too happy, right? And you're hitting that ceiling of happiness that you're calibrated to be able to tolerate, and you need to bring yourself back down. It could be a variety of feelings. But it's a habit that's been learned by the brain as a efficient and optimal way to soothe yourself, to calm yourself back down to baseline. And so when we're unaware of this, that we participate in this behavior, it's very difficult to get things in order, right? It's very difficult to attain a particular goal when it comes to weight loss. It's hard to maintain our weight, because even if we do lose the weight, when we're not aware of the fact that we're emotional eaters, we go right back to that, right? And so it's an unconscious type of behavior that requires intentional treatment.
Right, because it's so interesting. I had a woman on from Australia who talked about drinking, right? And it's also, I feel like, the way things are marketed, right? So when we're constantly seeing these ads of restaurants and everyone's having a great time and they're eating these glorious huge meals and they're drinking alcohol, because every ad for alcohol is celebratory and, oh my God, celebrate this way, and celebrate this with alcohol, celebrate the game with alcohol, everything. And I find it, as soon as you start seeing it and how things are marketed to us, it's no wonder we believe that like that drink is going to make me happy, or that food is going to make me happy, or that big huge sundae is going to do something for you, when in fact it doesn't. We've kind of tricked our brain into, like, right, like you said, soothing it, like which is so interesting.
Well, it does do something in the very moment.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the very moment, it does help you regulate your nervous system back to baseline. It's what happens as a consequence that is, what we would want to avoid. Right. So let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say I had a hard day at work. Really stressful, come home, more stress, family drama, this, that. At the end of the night, everybody's sleeping. And then you're like, holy cow, like you're wired, right? You're exhausted, but you're wired and you can't go to sleep and you're having anxiety, right? Oh, that pint of ice cream, that will soothe me, right? That's going to calm me down. It's going to cool me off. And I can just sit here and just eat my ice cream, right? And it does make you feel better in that moment. But those 2,000 calories the next day, now you're spinning into the cycle of shame, guilt. Oh shoot, what did I do? And then when you do that every single day, it just keeps piling on and on and on and on until you become aware of this particular habit that your brain has developed a connection to, right? So the brain sees your nervous system as a fire alarm. And the brain knows that when the fire alarm goes off, we got to put the fire out. How do we put the fire out? Quickly, get the water, right? Quickly, put it out. What's your water, right? So what does your brain think is the water that's going to put out the fire? It could be nicotine, alcohol, other drugs, porn, gambling, sex, relationships, people, food. And food is the most innocent sounding one, right?
Right. But it's not. Right. It's not. It's just, right, like you said, it's part of that whole group of things. So interesting. But then you have to tackle the problem. Why do you need soothing? Right? Like what is going on? So how do you think at this point, like the mindset shifts really affect your physical health and your emotional health? And can it? I mean, does it really work? Like the positive thinking and all of it. Yeah.
A loaded question, because positive thinking, that's another narrative, right? Good vibes only, think positively. How is someone supposed to believe in their positive thinking when 98% of their thoughts are negative? And all of a sudden they're going to flip them over to positive? The brain's not going to believe that. Brain's going to be like, what?
Right.
Lies, right? And so the goal is to get to neutral thinking, right? So the bridge, there's a bridge in between, the negative and the fake positive, is that neutral space of just kind of neutralizing the negative thought. But the thing that worked for me with emotional eating and food addiction in as a whole was not getting rid of it. So, let's say my vice was jars of Nutella, pints of ice cream, sometimes even more than a pint, a gallon. Like I could eat a gallon of ice cream at the same time. Alcohol, obviously, right? And so my approach was finally understanding that I was not going to go cold turkey. That was not going to happen. I wasn't ever going to have a relapse and not go for the ice cream. So instead, I'm going to get ahead of myself. I'm actually going to use my brain to solve this problem rather than be at its mercy. And so I decided that I'm going to create protein ice creams that are going to sit in the freezer for that time I know I'm going to have an episode, right? And so instead of grabbing the one that was 2,000 calories a pint, I started grabbing the one that was 200 calories a pint because I made it. I know exactly how many calories it was. And that's the beauty of knowing nutrition, by the way, learning macros and nutrition and how to help yourself, like be your own lifesaver here, because nobody else is going to tell you this stuff. Nobody else is going to do this stuff for you. And so I had all of they're called creamies, Ninja Creamies. And there's a machine out there that creamifies
I
the
have that.
yogurt
Yeah.
and whatever. You can make your own flavors. So I had like 8 of them in there. So guess what? Even if I had 2 pints, of that protein ice cream, that was 400 calories versus the 2,000 calories, and they still had the same effect. So the brain doesn't really care about how much sugar or what the label says. It cares about the feeling that is being induced, right? So calming, cooling feeling I was looking for is to calm down.
Right.
And I achieved that, right? And same thing with alcohol. So alcohol, although it's a much more complex subject, but you can find replacements, non-alcoholic versions of whatever it is drink that you're making, especially if it's become habitual and, kind of like a ritual for a lot of women.
Which it often is, I feel like, and they don't even realize. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's true. I do. Yeah, there are all non-alcoholic drinks that are pretty good. I gotta say, they're pretty good. Where can people get a hold of you, Terry, if they want to connect?
So you can find me on thehouseofrose.com, and you can find me on Instagram. How good can it get?
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, and you can help them in all sorts of ways, right?
Yeah, it's mostly lifestyle medicine. So nutrition, movement, strength training, sleep, substance, connection.
Yeah. That's fantastic. You have such a wonderful story, honestly. Thank you, Terry. Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on the show, and your insights and your story is very powerful. And you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot, and achieved success in every way, I feel like.
Thank you. Still working on it. I'm a work in progress.
Well, but we all are. And that's the beauty of life, right? We all are. There's no, you're not going to stay in one phase too long, right? You keep growing, and the goalpost moves, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, keeps moving. All right, that's it for us. I'm Jill Conway. Thank you for listening to the show, celebrating incredible women like Terry. I hope you're inspired to pursue your goals and believe in yourself and dream bigger. Your voice matters, and your story can help others. I hope you join us next time. Share this podcast with a friend and follow us both on Instagram. Thanks, everybody. And thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Jill. I really appreciate you.